Shavua Tov. There is a verse in the Song of Songs that we read on the Sabbath of Pesach that says, Moshchini acharecha narutza. Pull me behind you and we shall run together. Now, that seems to be a little bit contradictory in and of itself. If you're pulling me behind you, it means I'm going under protest. So I'm not about to want to go running together with you. So how do we understand this verse? We'll bring an understanding from the famous rabbi, the Katav Sofer, shortly. But let's approach another question about this holiday. Because the Hallel prayer is the Psalms of praise that was instituted in Egypt. It's called Hallel Mitzrayim, the praise of Egypt. Not in Egypt per se, but it is about the miracles of the Exodus from Egypt. And so it is surprising that for most of the holiday of Passover, we only say the abbreviated Hallel. Only on the very first day do we say the whole Hallel, but for the rest of Passover we say an abbreviated version. Why do we only say the abbreviated version and contrast it to the holiday of Sukkot, where we recite the entire Hallel every single day of that festival? Why the difference? So there are a number of explanations brought. I'd like to suggest a novel one, because the rabbis say something quite extreme in the Talmud. They say that somebody who says Hallel every day is insulting God. Insulting God? I would think that if he's saying Hallel every day, he's praising God. He's going beyond the call of duty. At the very worst, you could say that maybe he's an error. He's doing a mistake, because giving too many praises to God can then leave one open to the accusation that you're trying to say everything that there is to say about God, and well, that's impossible. So maybe he's making a mistake, but insulting to God by saying Hallel every day? How so? So the Katav Sofer also points out and says that we need to understand what the Hallel is about. The Hallel is about the miracles that are supernatural, the 10 plagues, the splitting of the sea, things that don't happen every day and things that suspend the laws of nature and are clear to all as incredible miracles. Those are the ones celebrated by the Hallel. But there are other miracles, more basic miracles, that are with us every single day. The fact that we can learn to crawl and then learn to walk, that's also a miracle. The successes that we have in our lives are also with God's help. These are the small and hidden miracles which accompany us throughout our lives. So says the Katav Sofer, somebody who only is interested in saying the big Hallel about the big miracles is basically saying those are the miracles and is denying the little miracles that accompany our lives. And as a result, that is highly insulting to God. With that, with that as a background, let's tackle the question of this verse of Moshcheni acharecha narutza, drag me behind you and we shall run together, and the difference between the Hallel in the Passover festival, which is only the abbreviated version from day 2 on until the end, as opposed to the Hallel in the Sukkot festival. Because when the Bnei Yisrael left Egypt, we were like babies. We were crawling, and God would help us to get up on our feet and to walk. In a sense, he was moshchini acharecha. He was pulling us behind him, and we were learning how to follow. Now, one of the puzzling things we say in the Dayenu prayer is that if God would have brought us to Mount Sinai and not given us the Torah, it would have been enough for us. What do you mean? What's the point of going to Mount Sinai if you're not going to receive the Torah? I think that could be that God brought us to Mount Sinai, meaning he did not let us wander off, and we did not choose to wander off either. The Israelites, when they were first released from slavery, they could have easily chosen to go back to Egypt and even take revenge against their taskmasters of the past. But no, we chose to follow God, and God, in his kindness, pulled us and guided us to get to Mount Sinai. So therefore, even arriving at Mount Sinai was a great thing, because it showed we were open and willing and ready to hear God's Torah. So he would give it to us, or we would figure it out, as Avraham Avinu had done, figured out all of the laws was through his own intense spiritual search. So that would be the explanation for that. Now, if you think about it, it's also interesting to note that on Passover, there's a reason to say the Hallel, because the miracles were quite great. The 10 plagues, we were liberated, and then in the intermediate days, we were making our way to the scene of the miracle part 2, the splitting of the sea. So there were definite miracles involved there. Why is there a Hallel on Sukkot? That's a surprising thing. There's no Hallel on Rosh Hashanah and on Yom Kippur. There's a Hallel on Shavuot because God gave us the Torah. So that's worthy of a Hallel. That was an overt miracle. But on Sukkot, what was the miracle? The miracle was what? That we dwelt in Sukkot. That's nice, but what was it really all about? It was really all about narutza. We were now running together. The fundamental theme of the holiday of Sukkot is that Israel and God are united. We see it in the Sukkah, where when we dwell in the Sukkah, it is said that the name of God is upon the Sukkah, Chag HaSukkot LaHashem. It's a holiday of Sukkot to the Lord. The Lord's name is on the Sukkah. And the theme that recurs throughout the Hoshanot prayers, which we recite on Sukkot, is that God is with us in our exile, and we pray, and He wishes to be redeemed together with us, whatever that is supposed to mean on a deeper level. But it shows an identification between the Jewish people and between God. So I think that is the difference, that on Pesach, our relationship is still very one-sided, that God is leading us and we are slowly learning how to crawl, slowly learning how to walk, slowly learning how to follow, but there is still a difference. So it is incomplete. The Hallel is not complete. But the completion is when we are fully together with God, running together throughout the world, doing God's work and bringing God's message to all of humanity. That is why the Hallel on Sukkot is complete. Shavua Tov Moadim L'Simcha.